Agents on the DOS. Now, the DOS, the term for messing around, dossing around. It was Wednesday morning and the clouds were like cotton balls placed on a large blue canvas, the bottoms of which were scraped orange by the rising sun. Peter sat on the bench looking towards the towers, the noise of passing traffic on the Strand Road behind him. His phone received a text. Must be work, he thought to himself. Perhaps Morris was sick and he needed to take his morning shift. It was Francois over at Irishtown Police Station. You must come in. Thompson and I need to talk to you. I can come by this morning. I'm working this afternoon. What time? 9 a.m. would be perfect. I'll let Colonel Thompson know. Peter was hoping for a leisurely morning, but Francois's text had changed everything. He decided to walk into Sandymount and get something to eat at Brown's. It was one of Michelle's favourite places to go. He arrived and ordered a pot of tea and a scone. He was going to sit inside, but his eyes caught two chairs outside. Michelle was sitting in one of them with a pot of tea beside her. She looked up and smiled at a man approaching. It was Peter from 10 years earlier. Oh yeah, did you come to join me? I've had my tea already and it was just fine and a lot cheaper. Ah, Pete, but it's lovely to sit out here and watch the world go by, if you insist. Do you want another cup? I'll grab another inside. I have plenty left, said Michelle. Well, if it makes you feel better, your hair looks great. Thanks, Pete. So you like this tradition, huh? What's that, Pete? Get the hair done, have a cup of tea, sit here. Yeah, she said with a smile. Well, I don't want to get in the way. Don't be silly, stay for a while. Peter now looked at the empty chair where she once was, wishing he had met her more often here. He observed the world go by as she would often do. Commuters on their way to Sandymount Station, he assumed, others going in for their morning tea or coffee. He felt strange just sitting there, but he did it for her. She'd be proud of him for sitting still or just one moment to take in life. He looked at his watch and decided to head to the station. His face was now known at the station, so as soon as he appeared, the guard waved him on downstairs. Francois was there alone. Where's the colonel? He's in London. We will get him on the phone. Francois dialed the phone and Thompson answered. Thompson was very polite, asking Peter how things were going. They had framed the conversation as a regular check-in, but the last-minute nature of the meeting, mixed with Francois' unsettling demeanour, told Peter otherwise. Francois, if you can get to your 2 points, please, said Thompson. We have two concerns as I've been observing them. Francois pulled up the screen, and there was the wife beater in front of his BMW, on his knees, the sound of his knuckles being crushed. Yeah, about that. He was not a threat, and Agent 13 made that very clear. You are not a vigilante, sir. You have a very clear directive. Thompson cut him off. Thank you, Francois. Best to keep the focus on the terrorists. Mr. Casey. Francois, I really want to get to the second point, indeed the point of this meeting. Thompson's voice changed from the friendly demeanour Peter had always known into a more serious tone, almost angry. You were with another agent for an extended period of time recently. Can you tell me why? Yeah, I followed her because she had no identification. I thought 13 had a glitch, so I followed her, hoping to get some identification. I'm sorry, if I did something wrong, it gets a bit lonely being an agent in Paris. Your time for socializing is on your own time, Mr. Casey, in work or the pub. The agent cannot be used to fill some social need. Peter could feel the stress go through his arms. He had not seen this side of Thompson before. He wanted to stress that they were still being watchful while they talked, and wanted to ask what the big deal about it all, wanted to ask what the big deal was about it all, but decided not to. Peter, said Thompson, his voice growing softer. We have a large amount of work to do and few agents to do it. We need you spread out across Europe, not socializing. Do you understand? Yeah, I understand. Peter left and went into town. He was upset. Now he had two bosses he could get into trouble with, but this one didn't even pay him. He wondered if it was worth it. What are you doing for lunch today? If you're free, I'm buying. Him texting with his right hand. I can do that, especially if you're buying. Barry's? Are you mad? That's 20 minutes from work. Oh yeah, best shops across the street? Deal. Peter arrived early and grabbed the seat. Jackie arrived soon after. You sit here and I'll grab the food. Peter arrived back. What's going on with you? How's work? Why don't you get to your point of meeting, Dad? I know something's going on. What do you mean? Something rattled you. I wouldn't say that. He continued to eat. Just had a meeting this morning with Francois and Thompson. They called it last minute. Peter continued with the story promptly as he could see the look of concern on Jackie's face. You can't be beating up fellas like that, Dad, even if it is a wife beater. I know. I don't need to get an earful. But I don't think that was the main issue, especially for Thompson. Francois seemed more bothered by the wife beater incident than Thompson seemed. And Thompson seemed to wave him off, wanting to get to the next part. He had her full attention. I bumped into another agent in Paris. I didn't know she was an agent until she threw me down the fucking staircase and ripped half my face off. Peter, sensing a shift in Jackie's demeanor, started to defend himself. We were working while walking and keeping an eye out while we were in the coffee shop. We weren't dossing around, Jackie. In any ways, Thompson seemed to get bothered by it, saying that I needed to stay out of contact with her. There's not many agents around Europe and we couldn't be all in one spot. Do you think he was wrong? Not really, I get it, but it gets lonely out there in Paris. What's the harm? Jackie smiled at him while biting into her fish. Is it Agent 13 who is getting lonely, Dad? Peter was silent and started to eat his chips. Dad, when do you start getting out there to meet women? I mean real women, not synthetic ones. Mama wants you to move on. I'm not ready, Jackie. Don't go off into fantasy land, Dad. It's not that, Jackie. She's a real person behind the robot. She lives in India and owns a shop. She could be a fat old one. I'm not in this for sex and with a robot. Besides, 13 doesn't have a Mickey. It's just nice to have a chat. I understand that. But don't rely on the agent who should be working to fill that gap. I get it. Do you? Yeah. They finished up lunch. Peter walked her back to Eason's and then caught a bus into Ringsend. He thought about Shri and wondered how she was doing. He remembered that he had asked for her phone number. He was also fully aware that he was now being watched. Upon arriving home, he went into his bedroom drawer to look for a piece of paper he had written Shri's phone number on. You know, you can just retrieve this from the agent. You have your very own giant digital assistant right here, Shri had said, laughing while poking Agent 13 with her index finger the night she had given Peter her personal mobile phone number. It was obvious to Shri at the time that Peter was manually writing down her phone number as he asked her to repeat it. He felt old and clumsy at the time for not realizing that Agent 13 would record it, so he had crumpled up a piece of paper and put it in his pocket. Extracting the phone number from 13's memory banks could be detected by Francois. Fortunately for him, he had thrown the paper into his sock drawer. He located the paper and unraveled it. He called it from his landline, but it was disconnected. The following morning, there was a note by the cash register left from the person who was on night shift. Call Shri, with the number attached. Peter grabbed the piece of paper and put it in his pocket. He'd have to call her later. How did she find him? He couldn't remember if he'd mentioned Tesco by name. He must have. He anxiously waited for his shift to be over and went home. He picked up his home phone and started to dial. What if they have bugged my phone? He thought to himself. He walked across the street to the yacht with some money to give Dave. it would be late in Mumbai. Keep your money. If it becomes a habit, I'll start to charge you for the calls, said Dave. Peter dialed the number. Shri, he said when the female voice answered. The voice spoke with an Indian accent. Shri? The voice then spoke in English. Who is this? Is Shri there, please? She's not? She's working? When will she be home? Who is this? This is our friend Peter from Dublin. Can she call you back? No, I'll call her. When is she back? She will be back close to 11 p.m. Oh, okay. Please tell her that Peter would call her at 11:15 p.m. Okay. Thanks a million. Peter looked at his watch. It was 4 p.m. his time. He'd have to kill an hour or so. Bit early for a scoop, he thought to himself. Too early for a pint, asked Dave. I was just asking myself that same question, Dave. I suppose not. That's the end of that chapter. It is cold today. It's 32 degrees, or was this morning in San Antonio. If you've been watching the videos, I was in Ireland last week. So I did some shots from there, which was nice. There's two future chapters towards the end that if you stick with me, you'll come across, and they were filmed in the locations in Dublin. So I read the chapter from that location the chapter was set in. So that's that. But we're back here. It's 32 Celsius, and we've had a fire going all day. Just like true Jack and Nori style. Jack and Nori, I don't know if I mentioned, was a British show where somebody would read a book in an armchair, sometimes by the fire, but they'd also show close-ups of the pictures. It was more kind of a children's thing, but a friend of mine said it's like being read a bedtime story with bad words in it. So there you go. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.